posting of the colors.
Color guard. Doing work. Mark.
At this time, I call Dexter Bishop to the podium to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and our opening prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, the high and mighty ruler of the universe, who looks down upon the government of men, we earnestly ask your favor to bless our native land and preserve its purity and integrity, its free institutions for all coming time. Bless our order, count, grant that it may long exist, and that it may continue to be an instrument of great good to all. Give us willing hands and ready hearts to carry out properly its principles and objectives. Keep ingrained in our minds the memory of those who sacrificed so much that the life of the nation might be preserved, and deal with them in all things with your special mercy. Give us your aid in conducting the business of the DAV, for which we are assembled. And so bless us that charity, justice, and peace and harmony shall remain and flow from us. Amen.
Amen.
Both go.
At this time, I'm going to ask DAV Chapter 64 Commander Jeff Blonder to come to the podium for the POW MIA remembrance.
As you entered this hall this morning, you may have noticed a small table in a place of honor representing Americans who are missing from each of these services: Army, Marine, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, and civilians. The table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our minds. They are commonly called POWs or MIAs. We call them brothers and sisters. They are unable to be with us, and so we remember them in spirit. The table is round to show our everlasting concern. Remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when answering the call to serve. Remember. The single red rose, displayed in a vase, reminds us of the lives of their Americans and the loved ones and friends who keep the faith, awaiting answers. Remember. The yellow ribbon symbolizes our continuing uncertainty, hope for their return, and determination to account for them. Remember them. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate and those captured or missing in a foreign land. Remember. There is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember. The candle is lit, symbolizing the upward reach of their unquestionable spirit. Remember. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share a toast. Remember. The chair is empty. They are missing. Remember. All of you who served with them and called them comrades who depend upon their might and aid, and relied upon them, for surely they had not forsaken you. Remember, until the day they come home, remember. At this time, I invite the Swampscott Town Manager, Sean Fitzgerald, to the podium for a few remarks.
So, good afternoon. Such a great honor to be here, traveling through time, thinking about the legacy of service. As a town administrator, I'm one of 351 chief municipal executives. I get the privilege of serving the citizens of Swampscott, which many years ago was the same community as the city of Lynn. We're not talking about North and South Korea, we're talking about the same families, the same flesh and blood. I attended the Captain Samuel Brown Elementary School. Sam Brown lost his life in the Civil War. In this great struggle for our freedoms, but also our equalities. We talk so much about freedoms. Everywhere we go, we talk about freedom, but when folks came to this country, like my ancestors just a few generations ago, and they were told Irish need not apply, they served. They immediately signed up for the Civil War, and they were sent in just like the 54th. And they sacrificed, and they proved their mettle. They proved that they believed in the promise of this great land. For me, as a town administrator, as somebody that is working in a career that is trying to build community, pave roads, pick up trash, I will never, ever forget that we would never have this privilege if but for the incredible sacrifices of the individuals and families that have preserved this sacred trust in a democracy. I want to mention that yesterday we had a hate crime in Swampscott. I hate to bring that news. We had scrawled racism on a basketball court in Swampscott, and it's so frustrating because we have so much love in Swampscott. We celebrated our first Juneteenth celebration a couple of years ago. This year we had the best ever. We've had pride events. We've celebrated the infinite value, the infinite dignity, every human being, everybody. You can feel it. You look at these faces. These are people that believed in your infinite worth. They sacrificed, and we have to continue to carry that torch. We have to carry that legacy. It's important that we don't lose sight of the fact that e pluribus unum, out of many one, that sense that we are striving for that sense of the American dream. It is achievable. It's achievable because we still have men and women, including our extraordinary Undersecretary of Veterans Affairs, General Bennett over here, which is absolutely amazing. Awesome. Our Vice Commander of the DAV and Commander Blonder, thank you for your service to the citizens of Swampscott. But I want to thank Mayor Nicholson and certainly our legislative delegation. We are so fortunate to have so many inspired leaders. It's just a privilege for me to stop by here today and just share this moment in time and just think about how grateful we all should be. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to coming back here in a future where it's all renovated and it's here for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to invite Mayor Nicholson and Mayor Lynn to say a few words.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Deputy Secretary, for the invitation, for all your work in putting this together. We'd like to thank the entire DAV chapter, the entire DAV organization for all your work and for being here today, and would also like to thank the GARi team. I know we have many board members here, and Wendy, the director, for hosting us today and for all that you do to maintain this building. It is so humbling to walk into this room every time I feel in awe looking around the faces of those folks that answered the call to save our republic, to save the country. I mean, think about the value and the importance and our pride in the institutions we have here, our democracy, our freedom. And you remember, particularly, days like today, how fragile it can be and how contingent it is. And it's contingent upon people like the folks that we're surrounded by, people like the folks that the DAV serves, stepping up and answering the call and protecting this country, all our veterans. And I'm also reminded, just walking into the building, that it's institutions like the GAR that are here to help us do our part in repaying them and thanking them. The GAR is not just a great source of history and learning about the amazing stories of these folks. It was also created as a way to take care of those veterans that served. And it's a great reminder to us of our obligations to take care of our veterans. Because that contingency continues through this day, that people are leaving their families, making that sacrifice, putting themselves at risk so that we can enjoy those freedoms. And those institutions, and you feel it in a room like this, that these big buildings that represent our government, it's not the brick and mortar that makes them what they are. It's the people that are doing the work. And we're so lucky to have people from this community step up and serve. And you can see it in a room like this. The physical effect on us when walking to a room like this is not just the chandeliers and the wood paneling, but the eyes looking back at us that tell those stories about what they saw, what they went through, and just really hopefully touches each one of us to remind us how important it is to take care of resources like this, take care of our veterans, and support organizations like the DAV. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Nicholson. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge all the elected officials who took the time out of their schedule to be here today. And so if you're an elected official, please stand to be recognized. Come on. Come on. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I would also like to recognize the GAR Board of Trustees because they allowed us to do this today. So if you're on the Board of Trustees, please stand. I also want to acknowledge Wendy and Patty. Patty is the chair of the board, and Wendy is the curator of this museum, and they have been such amenable collaborators. So, and I didn't see him here, but I'd like to acknowledge Jim Cowdell from EDIC because they were one of our sponsors for this event. So thank you so much. Now, there's some other people I want you to know about. If you are on the Lynn Veterans Council, if you are a member of the Swampscott VFW or the Saugus Veterans Council, please stand up and let us recognize you, or raise your hand. So I'm pointing out all these people because if you're a veteran and you're in this room and you'd like to join an organization that's doing something and helping the community, these are the people to talk to. If you need assistance, these are the people to talk to. If you love a veteran and want to help, these are the people to talk to. Thank you all for being here. So the collaboration between DAV and GAR is a perfect union of organizations dedicated to serving and preserving the legacy of veterans. The DAV has been a committed advocate for disabled veterans, providing critical support, resources, and representation to ensure they receive the care and benefits that they deserve. The GAR Hall and Museum is a historical treasure that pays tribute to the brave men and women who have served in the armed forces, particularly during the Civil War. You will have the opportunity to enjoy music, food, door prizes, photo booth, coloring station, and explore the GAR Hall and Museum and all of its exhibits, which showcase artifacts, memorabilia, and stories from the Civil War period and beyond. Additionally, DAV representatives will be available to provide information about the organization's programs, benefits assistance, and advocacy efforts aimed to improving the lives of disabled veterans and their families. North Shore Juneteenth Association could not be here with us, but they sent things for the coloring station, so please go down and enjoy that. And again, that's another perfect example of collaboration, as this post was the first fully integrated post in Lynn. So, I'd like to invite Jeff Blonder up.
At this time, it gives me great pleasure to invite Dexter Bishop to return to the podium for a presentation. Dexter is the past department commander of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, SUVCW. The SUVCW is dedicated to preserving the rich history of the Union veterans throughout education.
I did want to just thank you all for inviting me to come and make a short presentation. I am the past department commander for the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. I am also the chaplain to the Department of Massachusetts at this time. Before I say too much about the hall, I want to read you just a short letter. This is, you've seen the movie Band of Brothers. This was used in that movie. This is Bixby, Boston, Massachusetts. Dear Madam, I have been shown in the files of the War Department a statement of the Adjutant General of Massachusetts that you are the mother of 5 sons who have died gloriously on the field of battle. I feel how weak and fruitless must be my words of mine, which should attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering to you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of the Republic. They died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and leave you only the cherished memory of the loved and lost, and the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. And that was very truly and sincerely and respectfully Abraham Lincoln. Our job as Sons of Civil War is to make sure that that loss is not forgotten, is not left, and it's so easy to forget. That is a tremendous loss. And it was done in the Civil War, and it was men from Massachusetts. Now around you, you see all these pictures. There's 1,142, I believe. When you stop and start to focus in on them, you wonder, gee, what did they do in the war? These guys came back. The 5 boys that I just read this letter to did not. But these guys came back and they took care of their own. I just want to say a few words about one in particular who was a recipient of the Medal of Honor. And that Bible is resting upon a particular piece of ship from the Kearsarge. And I don't know if you know what it is, but it's a capstan. What does a capstan do? They use it to pull anchors up and down and all kinds of things like that. And that is came from the Kearsarge. Now, over on those 2 pictures, you can see the battle that took place between the Kearsarge and the CSS Alabama. The Kearsarge has been chasing the Alabama around the world for almost 2 years. And by accident, the Alabama went into Cherbourg in France to get some work done. And the Kearsarge went into London to get some work done. When they found out that they were only a few miles apart,
you're going to understand what took place. Immediately, Kearsarge set sail down the Thames, across the Channel, and visited with the Alabama in Chicago and challenged them to come out the next day to settle the war as far as they were concerned. Now, that brings us to that item there. As we know, history tells us, the two battles fought. The gentleman who was at the wheel during this battle, called by the name of William Poole, he stayed at his station through the entire battle with a live shell 8 feet under his feet that was following up the gears to turn the rudder. A live shell could have gone off at any time, especially because it was caught in the gear work of the rudder itself. And so making those movements could set it off at any time. But he stayed at his station, at the wheel. He even collected a few guys to help him turn the wheel because it was so clawed back. Now back to this. After the war was over, the Kearsarge came to Boston for a rig fit. Just so happens that item got off the ship and found its way to Lynn. In the records of this post, there is nothing saying how it got there.
Yankee ingenuity.
Yes. And that, as soon as it arrived, it turned into the altar for all meetings. And it's been at the altar of General Land Post 5 since its inception. Roulade somehow and came here and has been there, and the stories that go with it in the fact that Poole, after the war, was a member of this post, and he was also a member of the Association of the Kearsarge. And there's a picture over there of the men that were in Boston at the time, of him and the other guys. And in the big picture, you can see that capstan in the picture. So it's the real thing. And this building has all kinds of stuff like that. A lot of it came because of the veterans that were here, and they did their thing. Now, I was asked a question a few minutes ago as to how is the hall set up. So I'm just going to give a quick. Behind me is the commander's chair. And that chair down there is the senior vice commander. That chair over there would be the patriotic instructor. And that chair over there would be the junior vice commander. And right in that area there would be the chair that we would find for the chaplain. And every time they would open a meeting, they'd be called to order, and the commander would then ask the chaplain to open that Bible and say a prayer. And as long as the Bible was open, you never touched the path between the commander and that Bible. Reason being, it was the belief of these veterans that the wisdom of God came down through the Bible to the commander in all of the decisions he would have to make. And I know I'm over my 10 minutes now. So I want to say thank you very much for having me here. And on behalf of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War, as has been said, we hope you will enjoy walking around, seeing all of the great stuff that is in this building. And don't forget, we've got to save it, make sure that it doesn't fall into disrepute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dexter. I could listen to you forever. So at this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the 54th Volunteer Regiment. Please, gentlemen, come on up.
Thank you. So I understand that this is a integrated post. My post, number 1, down in New Bedford, is also an integrated GAR post. I'm very grateful for the GAR. I thank God every day for the impetus to take care of our veterans. And when we gathered in 1887 in Boston, the grand reunion of colored soldiers, it was a time for us to come back and reflect as brothers on the time that we had spent during that terrible war, but to know that folks thought it was not robbery to spend their time taking care of veterans and bringing together organizations like the GAR. Can we give a Civil War cheer for the GAR and the DAV and the organizations in your modern times that take care of our veterans? We say, hip hip, huzzah! Hip hip, huzzah! Hip hip, huzzah! And the tiger growl, Rawr! My name is William H. Carney. Some of you may know my story. I'll tell you a little bit about it very briefly. But I'm a member of the 54th Massachusetts. I and some other of my comrades came up from New Bedford. We were called the Toussaint Guards after Toussaint Louverture and came to Boston and joined the glorious 54th. And we trained in Hyde Park. I think you call it Hyde Park now. It was Dedham back in our days. Reedville was part of Dedham back in those days. But we trained in Reedville at Camp Meigs. And on May 28th, 1863, we took the trains in Reedville, we rode up into Boston, and we paraded around the city, and we marched out to Long Wharf, where we boarded the Damale and set sail for South Carolina. But before we did that, some of you may not know, we knew our history back in 1863, and we stopped at the old State House on State Street, and in honor of Crispus Attucks, who died in the Boston Massacre, in honor of those black men, those fugitives who had been arrested and held captive in that very neighborhood before being returned to slavery, we sang John Brown's hymn in honor of those fugitive slaves. There was a law by the name of the Fugitive Slave Act in 1850, and many black folk were hunted down, much to the chagrin of men like Lewis Hayden, who did everything they could to prevent them. And Lewis Hayden even had a powder keg under his front porch and told the slave catchers that he would blow up his house and blow them up as well if they tried to take men back into slavery. But many were captured in Boston and sent back into slavery because of that vicious law. Well, knowing our history, we sang a song, an ode to John Brown, before we marched off to war. And so what I'd like to do is share with you a little bit about my story and how I came to earn the Medal of Honor. And I earned that Medal of Honor in the Battle of Battery Wagner, the second assault on Battery Wagner, which was July 18th, 1863. Now, the anniversary of me getting my medal was just a few weeks ago, May 23rd. And so you may say, wow, it took 10 months from July to May for him to get his Medal of Honor. It didn't take 10 months. It took 36 years and 10 months. Sergeant Carney didn't get his Medal of Honor until 1900. It's quite some red tape back in the 19th century. But I digress. I'd like to share a little song. I had some help composing this from a team known as Johnson, Cole, and Johnson. You may know James Weldon Johnson. He would later write a song, Lift Every Voice and Sing. And he helped write a song about my story, along with a couple of other gentlemen. So a young man named Emmett helped me put all this together, and we're gonna learn my story through song, if that's all right. Can you guys help me?
Of course. Yes.
With a little song, we'll do some call and response. We won't have to get the tune quite right. I'll start off, and then I'm gonna have you guys help me during part of it. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. I strove to serve God and kin. Others led the way. My ministry was liberty, from Texas to VA. 'Twas the blue against the gray, boys, and he said to all around, I've only done my duty, boys. The old flag never touched the ground. I've only done my duty, boys, he said to all around. The old flag never touched the ground. I left slavery in Virginia for New Bedford by the sea. I joined the Tucson Guards. Ere long, our company C. 'Twas the blue against the gray, boys, and he said to all around, I've only done my duty, boys. The old flag never touched the ground. Way down in Charleston Harbor, 1863, the 54th was mounting at the Wagner Battery. Young Colonel Shaw will lead us in faith and bravery. Like many, he was martyred so the captives would be free. Y'all are going to help me with the bridge. So I'm going to salute you as if you were Sergeant Carney. So I'm going to say, Huzzah, Sergeant Carney. And you're going to say Sergeant Carney's famous words, I only did my duty. Can we do that?
Yes.
Huzzah, Sergeant Carney.
I only did my duty.
So we're going to do that twice. Then after we do that twice, I'm going to say, the rebels hit you 5 times. Sergeant Carney was shot 5 times during the assault on Battery Wagner. The rebels hit you 5 times. You would not go down, and your response is, the old flag never, it never touched the ground. Can we do that? Huzzah, Sergeant Carney!
I only did my duty.
Huzzah, Sergeant Carney!
I only did my duty.
The rebels hit you 5 times. You would not go down.
The old flag never touched the ground.
The old flag never touched the ground, boys. The old flag never touched the ground. Though shot and shell fell all around, boys, the dear old rag was never down. The old flag never touched the ground, boys. Far to the front was ever found. She's been in many a fix since 1776, but the old flag never touched the ground. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. At this time, let's welcome Coleman Nee, past Secretary of Veterans Services for the Commonwealth and current National DAV Junior Vice Commander. I may add, he's recently climbed Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa. And I think he did that in preparation of climbing those stairs. Coleman?
Thank you, Commander. Yeah, no, I think I'd rather go back and climb Kilimanjaro. I want to thank everyone for putting this together, particularly Deputy Secretary, General, Colonel, Senior Vice Commander, all around. It really is a pleasure, and I really do want to thank you, Your Honor, for being here and for your words, and for you, Mr. Town Manager, and members of the legislature, and the Lynn City Council, and other government officials here. Also, it's always great to be back in Lynn with one of the best vet service officers in the state, Mike Sweeney. Where are you, Mike? I've forgotten more about veteran benefits, I think, than I'll ever know. So thank you for all your service. I'm glad you brought up Commander Kilimanjaro, because I was very fortunate myself and 8 other veterans were able to go to Kilimanjaro, sponsored by the Mass DAV, and we were able to get to the top. It was a 7-day journey, and you get up to 19,300 feet, which is, yeah, it's a little thin up there. I can tell you, 19,000 feet. But while we were all climbing that mountain, what became very evident, because we were all veterans, and particularly the majority of us had deployed, we quickly realized that in addition to the physical mountain, many of us are still climbing our own mountains in terms of our reintegration and coming back. And the ability for us to communicate and talk to one another in a way that was through comradeship and in a way that we knew we understood where each other was coming from. There were sort of unspoken things that we could relate to, was incredibly helpful and incredibly healing. And I bring that up only because I know when I'm in this amazing room, and I really do want to thank Wendy and the whole board here for what an incredible place, so much history. But the mayor even said, that it's not just brick and mortar. And I think when we're here in this room, we should also understand it's not only the history and it's not only the photographs, but you're sitting in a space where I guarantee you so much healing and comfort and closure was able to occur because all of these people had seen the horrors of one of the worst wars in history and certainly had lost friends, certainly had seen traumatic events, certainly had to engage in very courageous and very dangerous actions. And for them to come up here, I am positive that this was beyond just their civic obligation. It was a way for them to communicate with one another and to really move forward as through their reintegration process. So there's a lot of specialness that happened here, and I really thank the mayor for referencing more than just brick and mortar because I think when we're here we realize this is a place of closure, a place of healing as well as a museum. So I do appreciate that, and I certainly appreciate Chaplain, thank you very much for the history lesson and as well as the 54th. And I think I have some documents here that I would like to, I'm always nervous about like furniture in a place like this. It's going to be great. I would like to bring Chaplain Bishop up because Chaplain, on behalf of the Disabled American Veterans, we do have a little presentation for you. Thank you, sir. So, certificate of appreciation awarded to Dexter Bishop. This certificate is awarded in sincere appreciation of your continued support of DAV and its mission, keeping our promises to America's veterans today as we celebrate past, present, and future veterans, and preserving the rich history of Union veterans through education. This is signed by the commander of Chapter 64 and presented to you on this day. Thank you so much. And if I could have Sergeant Carney and representatives from the 54th Regiment, Infantry Regiment, Volunteer Infantry Regiment, come up. What an incredible story, and I always, if you ever, I know at the State House, you'll see this. One of the most incredible paintings at the State House, if you go into the rotunda and you look up, is there's all the line of Civil War veterans marching back with their colors to present to Governor Andrews their colors after having served in the Civil War, which was their signal of our duty is done. It's now time for civic government to take over. It's time for us to have a democracy based on laws and freedom and civil rights. And you see in that the amount of events that I've done with the 54th when I was in state service, particularly at the memorial on Boston Common in the bas relief, an incredible pride that these folks take in preserving that rich heritage and that rich legacy and ensuring that school kids from not just New Bedford and Lynn, but from Provincetown all the way to Pittsfield understand the cost of our freedom and what people have sacrificed on behalf of that. So again, on behalf of the chapter, this certificate is awarded in sincere appreciation of your continued support of DAV and its mission, keeping our promises to American veterans by bringing history to life and serving as a living monument as we celebrate past, present, and future veterans. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you having me here today, and God bless you. God bless the Commonwealth, and I hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you, Coleman, and on behalf of everyone here, I would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and for all the work that you do on behalf of veterans. At this time, I'd like to call our representative, Peter Capano, up to the podium to give final closing remarks.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that organized this event today. I'm really humbled to be here as a veteran, as an elected person, first generation American. This building is incredible for all the reasons that everybody just mentioned. And we gather today to recognize and celebrate the Grand Army, the Republic Building in Lynn, as well as the strong activism of veterans in the community. The Grand Army of the Republic Building is a historic landmark that has stood the test of time. It is a testament to the bravery and sacrifice of the men and women who fought for our country. This building has served as a gathering place for veterans and their families for many, many years, and it continues to be a symbol of the strength and resilience in our community. But the Grand Army of the Republic Building is not just a building. It's a reminder of the sacrifices that people had talked about earlier, that our veterans have made for our country. It's a tribute to the men and women who have served in our armed forces and to the families who have supported them. And it's a testament to the activism of our veterans. Throughout history, veterans have been at the forefront of social and political change. They have fought for civil rights, for equal treatment, and for a better future for all Americans. They have shown us what it means to be true patriots, and they have inspired us to be better citizens. So today, we celebrate the Grand Army of the Republic Building, and we honor the legacy of our veterans. We recognize the sacrifices they have made, and we thank them for their service, and we pledge to continue their work to fight for justice, equality, and to build a future for all Americans. Let me just say a couple things. As people have explained, the importance and significance of this building a lot better than I have. People that know me, a lot of people in this room, I never write a speech, but I have so much respect for everything that's going in here. I had to do it, but I usually wing it. So now I'm just going to wing it for a couple minutes. What's really important to me is that we capture this whole, not just the building, I keep saying building in here, the memories that the chaplain was talking about are so important. And the reason why I talk about activism with the veterans in Lynn, because veterans in Lynn do have a history of activism. I remember when they tried to close a veterans clinic years and years ago. How many veterans drove down to New Bedford, and we stopped that clinic from closing back then. A couple of years ago. Well, was it just last year, right? They tried to close the veterans again. We demonstrated out in front, and we stopped them again. What I would like to see is how many people have been here for the first time? So I'm not preaching to the choir in here. People have been here for the first time. What I would like to see is everybody that leaves here today advocate for this place. This place is incredible. If you haven't been on the tour, you got to go on the tour. I learned more in 5 minutes from Dexter talking to him earlier than I probably learned my whole life. And it's just incredible, the history. My parents wouldn't have came to this country if it wasn't for all the people on this wall. Going back to earlier times, the chaplain told me that General Electric and Lynn is here because of a lot of the people in this room. They were going to move to Schenectady, and they said, no, we're coming to Lynn. So I want people in this room to leave here to talk about this building, how we're going to restore that building. I know the mayor, the city is working hard to help do that. We have an active committee with people that really do that. There's some energy now, and we're using this room right now the way people used it 100 years ago. For the first time, we're coming together to make this a great place. When we leave here today, tell somebody about this place and have them come down here, because we're going to make, like the chaplain said earlier, Salem has witches. We have veterans, and we have a story to tell. And the story begins right here. Thank you, sir.
can make me fired up like So that concludes the sit-down portion, but we're not done. Coco, please come here. Yes, you, Coco.
Oh.
Get your phone and
Ah.
Oh, you gotta take a Coco
I thought I'm doing
selfie.
that.
No, we're gonna take a Coco selfie because if he doesn't take a picture, this didn't even happen.
One, two, three, everybody. One more. One more.
Yes. So as I said, this concludes the sit-down portion. Please enjoy the museum at your leisure. There will be a lot of people around who you can ask questions to. Everyone should have received raffle tickets for the door prize. If you haven't, please see who's got the raffle tickets. Someone. Well, just let someone know you didn't get the raffle tickets and you'll get them. If you didn't, like I said, make sure you do that. Refreshments are downstairs in the basement. I know it's a lot of steps, but you're going down. You're going down, so it's okay. And be sure to check out all of the floors and all of the rooms. And the raffle drawing, well, I'm being told,
Second floor.
oh, second floor, the DAV table is there. I think I saw foster care. Yep, they're there. And anyone else? There? And the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War are there. And so the raffle drawing will be at 4:45. Please just write your name on the ticket and put it in the bag of whatever item you want. And enjoy the rest of your time here. Thank you so much.